it is very difficult to separate emotion too sometimes, where, one of our partners will have an issue come along. Like if you can get past that and see the end, it just gets better as you go on.
All right, guys, we have Dave, Stewart, and Matt Gruber on the call today. Welcome, guys.
Hey,
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's my honor to have you guys here. I know we were just jamming a little bit with Matt because he and I are from Oregon. I grew up in Oregon. I was actually an Independence, Missouri-born baby, but my parents moved when I was 2, and so I grew up in Oregon in the Southern Rogue Valley. So I knew Bend before Matt showed up as the little dirt strip with a gas station and some junk in the middle of a desert when I grew up. So it's evolved quite a bit, isn't it, Matt, to the place you're living in now? Tell a little about your life there, man.
Oh, gosh. We moved from Southern California 8 years ago. Never looked back. I always thought that we were going to miss the ocean, miss that Orange County lifestyle. But there's just something about the solitude up here, the hiking, the fishing. We love it. I got 5 kids, and we're stoked to be here.
Yeah, 5 kids. We'll unpack that. So, Dave, can you beat 5 kids? We're going 5. Can you beat 5?
I cannot. I have 3 girls, a 3.5-year-old and 2 1.5-year-old twins. So I do have the twin thing going for me.
Now that feels like 5 kids because I've been there. I've got 4 daughters under the 14 and under, and I understand that that space in which you're living. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you are in Southern California still, right?
I am still here. Matt hasn't coaxed me up there just yet.
It hasn't coaxed you. It sounds like there's been an attempt.
We're trying.
Yeah, he has.
Okay, all right. So what's driving that to get him up there, Matt? What are you guys doing?
Man, yeah, just being closer to my bud, to my partner. I think that's the gist of it.
Brother from another mother.
Brother from another mother, exactly. We've been partners for, gosh, Dave, how many years? Almost 14, 15,
something.
15 years. But yeah, we have 4 business partners all together, and we all are everywhere, spread out: Portland, Orange County, Bend, Tennessee now. Well,
let's get some learning, as I like to say in the country out here. What is it that you been doing together for the last 14 years? What are you focused on?
Yeah, so it's been a couple things, but most recently, Design Huddle is our focus. Design Huddle is a software platform that caters to really anyone with a kind of a website presence where they want to create customizable design and video templates, and they want to have some sort of user underneath them come in to very easily customize those templates to create quick graphics, create quick social media posts, whatever that might be.
Fantastic. And what bore the concept and idea of Design Huddle?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think a lot of things. I think Matt and I have always been kind of involved in media to some extent, right? And even distribution of media online. But I think that, let's call it 10 so years ago, it became very clear that there was a big push to enable really easy creation and customization of media in a browser context online. And there have been a few big companies that have come out and kind of created products. We saw a big need to do it in a more B2B, white labeled, and even embeddable way that customers can kind of create as part of their own website, make it their own. And so we kind of saw the need to be able to provide that solution to B2B customers on their own websites to allow for their users to kind of create within their own ecosystem design and video content.
Oh, that's very cool, man. So you're actually embedding in a B2B situation and giving the business customers the opportunity to come in and configure their own graphics and information.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. But then more importantly, the business customers might have their own users underneath them that they're trying to provide media to and allow for customization by those users. So it's a combination of both. Some of our customers are just kind of their own business employees doing it. Some are using it for their own, for like a lower level user underneath them.
Now, to switch topics really fast, I'm going to say the word pickleball, and you're going to tell me what that means to you.
I just built a pickleball court in my backyard, so this is relevant.
This is relevant. I think I saw something about that the other day. It looked really cool. Where did you get the idea and the design from? Is it like something you're passionate about now? I mean, you literally turned your backyard into a pickleball court, if I saw correctly.
This is really funny. You're going to laugh. I played pickleball once, and I tore a muscle in my leg. The first shot I did. And I said, forget this. But my son starts talking about it a lot. And we had a bunch of aspen trees in our backyard that started falling down. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do with this area. So we decided to mock up some things that we could do in the backyard. And so I thought a pickleball court would be fun for him and the kids. And, and so I got a lot of kids, so they need a lot of things to do around the house.
You to go out and play on the pickleball court.
Go play pickleball, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, almost all year round you can play there in Bend to a degree, I guess. It gets a little
It's
colder.
a very popular sport. Yeah.
That it is. I've got some good friends and business people in our group here at Voltage that are building up pickleball brands to take advantage of that market, which is growing very fast. It's fast enough that I wonder where it's going to go in terms of, I mean, okay, I'm going to oversimplify this, but what is the difference between like pickleball and tennis?
I don't know. I'm still learning.
I don't know either because literally I don't get it. Like what?
Smaller court. I mean, you could
Smaller
have
court.
like badminton, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like an advanced version of badminton. So this is like an evolution, an innovation, right? I mean, it's like going from the Instapot to air fryer is how I would
well,
analogize
it kind of started it was a high demographic of people, starting out with pickleball, but there is a ton of kids and younger demographic, folks starting to really get into it. Breweries and things like that, or people are really embracing it here in Bend.
Yeah, that's the outdoor aspect of it, or the simplification, I suppose.
Oh, it's huge down here as well. Don't get me wrong. It's in Southern California. Yeah, there's courts everywhere.
No, I can see it's going. Are you a player, Dave?
I wish I had the time, but my 3 daughters take up all my time at the moment. I would love to, though.
Yeah, between sleeping and business, you don't have much time on your hands at those age groups. How long have you and your wife been married, Dave?
So 8 years.
8 years. Good for you. Very, very cool.
Yep.
And Dave, Matt, how about you, bud?
Oh gosh, 16 years. And yeah, just loving life.
Yeah, time flies. I'm joking of the over 40 thing because that whole initiative of like, I'm going to go out and play pickleball and then like I tore a muscle kind of thing.
It really is that thing. It's funny though too. Dave and I were we're business partners, but we are so competitive with those kind of sports. What's the one we like? We do the most, Dave, on our retreats.
Cornhole.
Cornhole. That's the big one.
Now you're speaking my language because we're in the country, right? It's like if you don't have a country party with a cornhole outfit, like you don't have a party in the country.
I mean, it gets very serious in our retreats. I mean, it's a thing we look forward to.
I saw a thing the other day where they actually have a cornhole competition now. It's like a really big deal.
Yeah.
I had no idea that somebody took it that far.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a big deal.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, this is like a professional sport. They broadcast that stuff.
So are you all is your background in design? Are you guys like illustrator designers background? Have you been in that position?
I have. We started a while back with, working with nonprofits, sharing graphics, opening up a graphic stock repository for nonprofits. So we ended up building out LiveSwap, which was basically one of our products coming into this that was generated for nonprofits. We want to see anyone design graphics. And so this is what led us into building out Design Huddle into the industries. We got our first start with a major coffee shop franchise that kind of helped us build the product. And then from there, we kind of took off just learning about that industry. And then we got into franchise companies, entertainment groups, real estate. We make, what was it, Dave? There's a company, cemeteries now, people could design their graphics on a tombstone. I mean, we're all over the place, but it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can say people are dying to use your software.
Yeah. Design's prevalent everywhere is what we learned, right? Yeah. And the need for a really easy user experience for people to design in lots of different contexts was the way that we were going to stand out, regardless of what the use case was.
Yeah, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, so Matt, obviously his background is on the design side. Mine's on the kind of more tech side.
Okay.
I've always been kind of an engineer, and that's kind of how we made a good pairing.
What's your team look like now? Is it just the two of you guys? Do you have a team with you?
No. So we have about 10 who are involved in the company at this point and growing. And yeah, I mean, at a software company, you have everything from finance to client services to a decent sized engineering team, especially at our size, and then focused on product and design after that.
So it sounds like you're selling more like B2B license and deals. So you've got multiple seats and users and customer account reps. And
yeah, absolutely. Yep. We're focused on B2B sales. And so that's a very different situation than trying to sell something to consumers directly.
So which of those verticals are you really trying to exploit more in the coming year? Because you said you got a lot, and you're opening up obviously some cemeteries.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily.
It's big business.
It's big business. Yeah. Oh boy, that's terrible.
Everyone dies.
Yeah, and everybody's dying to get into it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we I think clearly real estate is a really big opportunity because there's a ton of need for both brokers and agents to have customized like collateral for the listings that they're showing and for all sorts of online promotion of the things that they're doing. And so that's always been a big one. There's lots of printing companies that need like a design online option. So if you're going to go, want to order business cards, well, if you already have a business card design, then a lot of those websites have the ability to kind of customize this really basic business card template. Well, they need software to power that experience for their users, right? So that's where we kind of fit in and provide that to, a printing company. And then beyond that, there's just a ton of online media use cases you would never know exist. Like companies that help people help startups with a bunch of marketing collateral so that they don't have to hire a designer to create their letterhead and their postcards and all sorts of stuff that they're using for their customers. And so there's just these companies that do that, and then they kind of use us. They kind of piggyback on our products to provide that experience for all sorts of different things. Stock video libraries, they want to allow customization on it. Logo creation, where they want to be able to take that logo and put it in all sorts of other design assets. There's just all over the place.
I think there's an aspect to it too, Neil, that there's a perception that people or businesses like us are taken away from the graphic designer. We look at it like we are partnering with these companies, B2B, and their graphic design teams, so that we can enable them to even create an Illustrator or Photoshop with Adobe products and actually import them into our software so that they can extend that to their users.
Yeah.
So it's a really great thing. It's a really great match and fit, and it actually helps accelerate, what they do and their efficiencies.
And I think it helps their designers be more creative, right? So the idea is that we don't want designers having to focus on little tiny changes for clients all day. If they can create a templatized experience, they can focus on doing the things that they're good at, being creative, and then allowing users to kind of be more autonomous and self-serving to kind of make those basic changes themselves without having to pay for that expensive Adobe software.
Yeah, I think really what it comes down to is just scale for these companies. And so we kind of enable that and help them.
Yeah. So in the world, and just most recently, I've been witness to a number of my friends playing around in the computer and AI generated space, right? Obviously, guys, being a little cutting edge in the graphic and design, what you're doing. What do you think about that? Are you incorporating any of that into your design software?
Yeah, so I would say that there's the meaning of AI can mean different things to different people, right? So if you talk about actual AI and like computer generated graphics, that's interesting. And there's a few companies doing interesting things like Google with that. But when it comes to what most people are thinking about is just auto creating designs from templates, essentially, where essentially it's like, hey, we already know something about this person. We already know their information. Like for instance, in a real estate case, we know what property they're trying to sell. We know its asking price, its bedroom count, all the different information about it. We know information about the agent themselves, their name. Imagine we have a template and we can just fill in all that information with images, colors, logos, text, and kind of compile that automatically. That is a huge piece of what we do to kind of remove the need for users to do things manually. And so that is a really big aspect of what our product does and why a lot of customers, what they take advantage of.
Well, it's a fascinating, it's keyword driven, and it's definitely something people are, mid-journey and stuff are things people are really looking into right now. And personally, I haven't dug into it too much, but I can see some of the ideas of conceptual art graphics maybe used a little in the business or maybe in the more artistic side of the aspects of that. What do you guys see? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so for us, I would say because we work primarily in B2B, there's this notion that we have a lot of information about the customer already, and about what they're doing and some other like shared context. And so with that information, you could take advantage of the fact that now like there are image and video repositories that are tagged where you can basically search and find anything that's already been created. There's all sorts of information textual about different context of again, in real estate properties, but then in all sorts of other contexts, information about what you're trying to build. And we can take all that data, look up images, look up videos, grab the correct color schemes based on information about the branding. All that data is already on hand somewhere and stored in some database. If we could take advantage of all that, compile it all together into a nicely packaged template, essentially you can automatically generate these graphics and videos on behalf
Very
of your
cool.
users, and then not let them have to make things manually. That said, where we shine is the ability for the user to then still come in and edit it afterward. There's all sorts of products where it's like, hey, we'll just auto-generate a video or a graphic for you, and then you're just stuck with it, right? You get basically like a flat JPEG file or something. We're saying, no, we'll do that, but then you could actually click into it and then edit it further and make tweaks if it's not perfect or if there's something you'd like to change about it. And so we're trying to be like the best of both worlds. The mantra we push is 80% auto-generated, 20% coming in and kind of making it your own after that. And that's where we've seen in places where it's like an e-commerce situation, like where the conversion rates go through the roof because now all of a sudden you can kind of remove the friction at the beginning of the process but then still let the user feel like they have their own touch and feel on it.
Yeah, and you're generating stuff in the e-com space. If I can ask a few questions about that, I mean, are you specific stores, type, content, product line? Is there marketplaces you do and do not touch, or does it not? I mean, graphics are graphics, but I just want to get clear.
Yeah, I think
what you guys are into.
Where we do the most, I would say, would be in product personalization. So you can imagine there's all sorts of sites that are selling like swag for businesses, whether that's like coffee cups or pens or lanyards or all sorts of things where essentially they want to allow people, like they're essentially charging their users to print these special things where the user's able to put their logo on it or their colors or something even more basic, but they need an experience in the browser to be able to actually create those things. And so we're powering that for them. Also apparel, right? There's all sorts of shirts and hats and all sorts of things along those lines. So that's kind of where we typically play.
So anybody in the promotional or apparel space could definitely see some benefit in utilizing you guys for graphics and imagery around their user base. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we plug into Shopify. So I was going to say Spotify.
Yes.
I have my Spotify account open. Shopify and other accounts.
Yeah,
we'll be on Spotify.
Yeah, that's the idea, is making it really easy no matter what, like their existing e-commerce or website experience is, what platform they're on, that we can kind of plug in and just make it work within that.
So obviously you guys are family men. Obviously you're involved in your kids and lives. What else do you want to share with people to get to know a little bit more about who you are as they're listening to this?
I think for me, it really just comes down to the relationship we all have with each other. I mean, there's 4 business partners. We've stuck it out. We've duked it out for years. I think it was Dave Ramsey that says the only ship that won't sail is a partnership. And I mean, honestly, I always hated that quote because until I found out he actually said, well, if with family businesses are fine, but it's folks who aren't family. It also, I think what he's saying is that partnership, just if a partnership lacks relationship, then it's pretty much dead in the water. And that's the good thing about with all 4 of us, is that we've kind of gone beyond just the, we're partners, we're work partners, but we've just kind of dived into our families and we do things together. We get together for dinners and when we're out together. And so that's kind of part of, our dynamic here. And so
treating partnership more like family a little bit in that way. My experiences with family businesses have not always been as positive as maybe Dave Ramsey alluded to with that conversation. Sometimes they're the worst.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because it ultimately comes down to humility as well. It's like oftentimes, like Dave and I will go back and forth, and I'll try to convince him that, like, dude, I'm so right on this thing. Like you need to listen. You need to listen to me. And we just duke it out, and I just see no other path where like Dave does. And so after we duke it out, Dave will just explain his thoughts and his solutions, and all of a sudden I get like these hot flashes. Like I'm just like, I'm wrong.
That happens in your 45.
I totally wrong. I'm sweating because I know I'm like, oh my gosh, something about this feels the same, here at home. And this is my wife. Like it's the same operation where I feel like I'm so dead on, and then she just captures me and just proves me otherwise. And so that's how we operate.
Yeah. So on my side of it, right, you give me a blank canvas and I'm terrible with it, right? And that's where Matt thrives. Give him a blank canvas and he can envision the things. But you give me even just a start of something, right? I can run with it and I can execute and make it into anything that you want, and I know how to do it, right? So like Matt and I are a great partnership in that way. But that, like Matt said, that ends up, but we end up butting a lot of heads about like, well, how do you get from A to B or A to B to C, right? Like he said, and I've, by the way, I've had your experience as well in previous business relationships where, we were close and that wasn't necessarily a good thing. And I think I understand what that can be and how that can kind of go off the rails. But we treat this very differently. That essentially the way that we operate is almost like, look, there's nothing we can say or do that's really going to push us past the deep end. And like, we can always come back from it. There's always reconciliation. We've learned how to apologize and get past anything that's become a bigger ordeal than it should have, where things, get blown out of proportion. And because of that, we can always kind of circle back around and make something productive and ultimately meet in the middle. Because when Matt and I meet in the middle on our ideas, things go well, right? And we've learned.
So what would you say is probably the biggest learning lesson in your experiences, since we've gotten on the topic of partnership, which is an important part of any business, and people who are listening to this may be questioning or in a partnership or wondering if they shouldn't get out of the one that they're in, the 3 stages of partnership. I've been involved in all of them, right? My partner and I have been involved for business for like 9 years. Now, we brought in additional partners or people who we thought would be a part of the business, and obviously we had to eject them. We've gotten smarter about how we structure our business dealings into separate entities in which we could literally detach that ship if we need to let it sail, should they not be a part of our core structure, because he and I are very similar. Creative vision, draw the paper, love the improvisation. It's like, okay, what are the bullet points we're going down after? I'm like, well, I don't have all the bullet points. You're going to have to figure some of that out. It's like, we've blindly learned in years that if I'm going to jump off a cliff, you better grab the backpack and go, because we're building the parachute on the way down, right? And it's just that uniqueness, and you don't always find that, and I'm glad you guys have that, because you usually find that it's very difficult to get that structure of that strength and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. And it sounds like your SWOT analysis has got you guys identified very clearly that even if you butt heads and don't agree and don't always understand, you do understand the mutual win of working with each other versus working apart, which is big. So back to the question, what's the one thing you guys think is your solid rock that you could give somebody in a partnership aspect?
I'll go into that, but I watched the Russo brothers not long ago talk about making Marvel movies. And they talked about how they fought like cats and dogs while they were making the films, because ultimately they had to hash out and problem solve, sometimes on the fly. And they said that if they weren't so close as brothers, that anyone else probably would just walked out and quit the films, because they had the ability to fight for ideas, but also maintain relationship. And that's, for me, is the key, is that I don't see Dave as just a partner. I actually see Dave as a blood brother. And that's how we go into this.
Yeah,
you burn the shift on your way into the partnership.
Exactly.
Yeah, we did this for a long time. And I think that's what morphs over time. You can't get that from day one, right? That doesn't just doesn't start that way. I think you have to slowly but surely kind of build into a relationship like that. And that requires a lot of patience and a lot of forgiveness and a lot of, of just making sure that you always know you guys you want the same things at the end of the day. Because a lot of times you question that, do we really want the same things? And if you can get to the point where you believe that you're both on this, heading toward the same thing or want the same things out of it, then it's a lot easier to look past some of the issues in the beginning and kind of the middle.
It's very
like faith, family, fun, profit, and everything else. And if you can't align some sort of structure of commonality in those, you're going to find the nuances, whether the money's not there and you're struggling and fighting over, or whether the money shows up and all of a sudden one person isn't the same person anymore. It's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and you're like, what happened to this person? Certain structures without compromise will cause destruction in the relationship.
It is very difficult to separate emotion too sometimes, where, one of our partners will have an issue come along. Like, I had an issue with one of my kids. She ended up having, when she was born, she was having some issues. And that was probably the toughest time of my life, working through this business as well. But I don't think I've yelled at my partners as much as I did in those times, just in a way where I was just so frustrated on both ends, but I was burning the candle on both sides. But it's really just, I got to check myself in those times. And I learned a lot. And I think if you can get past that, and see the end, it just gets better as you go on, because it just becomes more meaningful.
And Matt and I have both been fortunate enough to go through other, business opportunities that didn't necessarily go well, or where we learned a lot of things from. And I think you pick up a lot kind of learning that early on. And then you can take into your next venture, the learnings from that. And I think that's one of the big reasons we've been able to be successful, is that we've avoided all the pitfalls and things that we've seen happen and destroy situations like this in the past.
Well, I think your success in Design Huddle is an implication to me of your strength, communication, and resilience as partnerships go, and which is great to watch. Guys, one last thought for everybody today before we cut it off. What else? What's you going to share with the folks who are listening today?
Play pickleball.
Play pickleball. Have some fun.
Don't pull a muscle. Pickleball.
Don't pull a muscle.
Okay, but let me just say this. The pickleball balls don't bounce like tennis balls. Okay,
This is also true.
It's a softer bounce. It's a lighter bounce, and so when you think it's going to take that hard bounce, you're going for it. Don't overextend yourself.
Technique.
There
It's
you
all
go.
about
It's all
technique.
technique.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'll just
We will
say,
have to
don't
unpack that some
overextend
more.
yourself in general in all areas of life.
Yeah. In all areas of life. Exactly.
Don't overextend yourself. Yeah, you might pull a hammy. Guys, it's so great to have you on. I appreciate you coming in.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Neil.
Thanks for having us, Neil.
Thanks for having me.